We realize that we have a God-shaped hole in our heart, and we spend all of our time trying to fill it with things. But we're trying to fill a God-shaped hole with creatures, and they're never going to fully satisfy us.
It was my time at Oxford was the first time I fully felt the world letting me down. I was living under this worldview that happiness came from what you could accomplish and incredible experiences. And at this point in my life, everything was coming together to hit all of the check boxes that should have led to happiness based on at least my definition.
Well, you were in England, so does it get any better than that?
It's very true. And actually, that was part of it. I was pretty excited, being in a new country. And at that point, I couldn't achieve any more success, at least at that stage of my life, because academically is all I could focus on. And I traveled the world when I was there. I got 12 weeks to travel in Nicaragua, India, Israel, going all over Europe. And yet, I had never been so dissatisfied, so empty in my life. And don't get me wrong, I love my time there because incredible growth happened. But it fell far short of what I was expecting.
I mean, despite the fact you're disparaging the country of my birth, I think a lot of people can relate.
Notice all the stuff I said about traveling, though, was outside of your country. So if only I would have traveled more around England.
Or if you'd have stayed in England, you'd have been fine. But yeah, I think most people can relate. I think everybody has within the side some longing for something great.
Well, this makes me think of, I just read a couple weeks ago in an article, the University of Yale, one of their most famous oversubscribed classes they've ever had in the history by multiples was called The Science of Well-Being. That title right there suggests people are searching for happiness. They want to know, what's the science? How can I be happy? And it's gotten so big, they've made it an online course that anyone in the world can take now.
But yet the world repeatedly lets us down.
It does. And there's a few different ways that, and I experienced this in my time at Oxford, but Lewis points out that we respond to this problem. You're let down. So what's the next step? Well, the first thing that most people do, and I did this, is, you know what? I just need a little bit more of this something. I'm just not quite there yet. So if it's success, I just need to achieve a little bit more. If it's money, I just need a little bit more. Or you just shift to something different. Well, this worldly thing didn't work, so let me try this one.
Try a different car, try a different wife.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately that extreme. And the other way that when I realized, thankfully I'm not completely insane and keep retrying things over and over, I realized, well, this isn't working anymore.
You want to make new mistakes.
I want to make new mistakes. Well, at the time I didn't realize it was going to be a mistake, but yes, it's the Stoic way. So you recognize that more isn't working, different isn't working. So take the approach of, well, maybe things just don't bring you happiness. Maybe the world, these experiences aren't going to fulfill you. So be detached from them.
To make the best of a bad job.
To make the best of a bad job. I like that.
And I remember Lewis says that you will generally rub along quite well with this, but you could become a bit of a prig, a bit condescending about other people's dreams.
Yeah.
And he says it's actually probably the best way that a man could live if a man didn't live forever. But that's the question. Does a man live forever? And in fact, does this point to the fact that we were made for somewhere else? And this is actually my favorite quotation from Mere Christianity. Creatures are not born with desires unless satisfaction for those desires exists. A baby feels hunger. Well, there is such a thing as food. A duckling wants to swim. Well, there is such a thing as water. Men feel sexual desire. Well, there is such a thing as sex. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world.
I love that.
And this is the argument from desire. This was Lewis's favorite argument for the existence of God.
Isn't it funny, though, how so many times when we're trying to prove the existence of God, we're thinking scientifically, philosophically. Whoever thinks your own desires
this is the experiential way. We realize that we have a God-shaped hole in our heart, and we spend all of our time trying to fill it with things. But we're trying to fill a God-shaped hole with creatures, and they're never going to fully satisfy us.
No, this was my entire life story. I've searched for so many things to find happiness. And I mentioned this before in the inaugural episode, but it was only when I started reading Mere Christianity, I hadn't even proven that Christianity was true or not yet. But when I read that, I thought to myself, this just seems beautiful. This seems like this would fill the desire that nothing else has been working to fill. And that drew me to it. And when you recognize this, when you realize this, when you learn this firsthand, you learn, okay, now how can we respond to the world? What do we do about these things, these experiences? You don't disown them. Stoicism's gone way too far to the other extreme. The first thing you do as a Christian, once you've experienced this joy and know that you're made for another place, is recognize that you need to be grateful for Earth. It's a beautiful thing.
But it points somewhere else.
It points somewhere else. It's not meant to be an end in itself. It's a means to an end. So you say thank you for it to God. You understand what it's really there for, so you can experience goods.
But you don't turn them into idols.
You don't turn them into idols. And then finally, you recognize that this is such a gift that I've learned this. I want to share this with others. You don't selfishly say, well, I figured out the secret to happiness, and so I'm going to hold it up inside of me. No, you share this with others and point them, show them what they're really, truly looking for. And this all makes me think of John Eldredge. He's the author of Wild at Heart. I went on his boot camp in Colorado. It was awesome, a men's retreat. And when he's there, he talks about how we were made for adventure. And there's no greater adventure in this world. And he's comparing it to hunting and all these masculine outdoor adventures and stuff like that. He's saying there's nothing greater than bringing the kingdom of God to the world.
I think all of this is summed up in another of my great heroes, St. Augustine, the 4th, 5th century bishop. He lived in North Africa. And in his early life, he sought worldly success and was doing quite well for himself.
Oh, yeah.
But even as he was pursuing it, he realized that this wasn't fully satisfying him. And he converted to Christianity, and he wrote his autobiography called his Confessions. It's this one long, beautiful prayer to God. And on the very first page, he said, "You made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until we rest in you."
I love that. If you're like you and me at various points in time, you're feeling restless, do what St. Augustine did. Take that restlessness, lay it in the hands of God, and turn to the true source of joy. It's that simple.
Cheers.
Cheers. We want to thank you for watching this. David and I are incredibly passionate about the Christian faith. In our journey, we found there to be such truth and beauty in it. And if there's anything you disagree with, if there's anything you're struggling with that we just haven't talked about, we invite you to share that in the comments, and we would love the opportunity to address that, to do a video on it. Because if you're struggling with it, probably others are.
And if you are an excellent sort of person who wants to go to heaven, please share this link.
It's that simple. We offer you heaven for very cheap.
But seriously, if you found one of our videos helpful, if it has helped you grow in your love and understanding of Christianity or C.S. Lewis, please share it with your friends. See you next time.
Further up.
Further in.
Cheers.